James, you got a thought on this? We learned that Ja Morant out for a minimum another 4 games for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the league's going to do. This feels like something that the league needs to step in and use their precedents and make a judgment call. And it's also something that I think the league needs to really set a strict standard here. It's in their bylaws. They need to drop the hammer, whatever that is, whether it's 10 games, whether it's 20 games, whether it's the rest of the season, whatever it might be. This is about a young guy who's lost his way, and like you need to have your fail safes in not only to protect your brand but to protect the rest of your players. You have situations like this. A guy starts waving a gun. What if something bad happened? What if one of his teammates were injured because of something that happens that stems from this? So like, look, there's a code of conduct that goes with being in the league, and if you can't live up to it, you can't be in the league. It's the way it goes. Like we've seen players get a lifetime ban for one positive drug test if it's the wrong drug. Well, this is like in all reality, this is the wrong drug. Like what he's doing right now is he's high on some sort of weird power and thinks that he can go out and do whatever he wants. And at some point someone needs to say that's not okay. It's not in line with our not only code of ethics but who we are as a league. And I hope the Grizzlies are stepping in. I just know my experience. There's too many times where I saw stuff happen that shouldn't be happening, and there's such a like, well, it's not really our place type deal with this league, and they need to step up here. You know.
It's a mix of money and arrogance, if you ask me.
Yeah.
A combination of the two things you and I were talking about.
Yeah. I didn't give you an opportunity to answer my question of, do you think he comes back this year?
Oh, do I think he comes back? Well, let me mention you're listening to D-Lo and KC on KIFM West Sacramento 98.5 FM, KRX QHD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, always live on the free Odyssey app, live on twitch.tv/ESPN 1320, youtube.com/ESPN 1320, as well as we welcome in the creator of the Kings Beat, the sneezer from the grassy knoll. And
I had to sneeze. I tried to hold it. There's nothing I could do.
Well, the funny thing was we caught it, and it was just, somebody sneezed, and it was funny. And then it became, hey, who sneezed? And so we started going over the film. Then we found an alternate angle from Sean Cunningham. So we were like, okay, if Sean Cunningham's camera moves, Sean was the one who sneezed. And I went with James, and then I saw Sean's thing. I was like, maybe it's Sean. Someone says sorry. Someone says bless you, and it was the Jay Triano incident all over again.
Okay, so 2 things. I'm a really, really loud sneezer. It is what it is.
Made me think it was you. I've heard you.
You've heard me sneeze, and then not only that, but I always sneeze twice. For some reason, I did not sneeze twice this time. And I'll be honest, if I knew we were only going to get De'Aaron Fox for 1 minute and 15 seconds, I probably could have held it in. But I was thinking, we're probably going to be here for 3 minutes. There's no way I can hold in a sneeze that long. But we got him for 1 minute 15, so 75 seconds. I probably could have held out and not sneezed.
James's eyes watering. De'Aaron looks at, what's wrong with you? Just holding in a sneeze. Just holding in a sneeze. That's it.
I'm just De'Aaron popped up for 7 days.
That's funny.
To answer your question, or attempt to, I do think Ja comes back this year. I do think he plays.
Do you think it's after this little, like more than this?
I think it's
situation?
after. I think I'm gonna go 5, just because the 5th game is on the road in San Antonio. They come back. They have a couple of home games. I think it was against Golden State. I closed the tab out, but I think it was against Golden State.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
I'm gonna go. He's back for that. I think it's March 28th. I'm gonna go. He's back for that game at home against the Golden State Warriors, which is 5 more games. And I think at some point during this trip, they say Ja will be back with us when we return home. Because you can't be away. Well, you're gonna be away from the team and then fly into San Antonio,
right?
It just make it. They should have just said 5 games today. And they could have just said he's
indefinitely.
He's away for the upcoming road trip, or I guess they have one home game before then, or maybe 2 home games before then. But yeah. Do you think he comes back, James?
Yeah, I think he comes back. I know I had this conversation with Sean Cunningham, and he said he does not think he comes back this season. But I don't know. He doesn't seem like someone who's ready to accept responsibility quite yet. Like the words and stuff, like, all right, that's nice and all, but like next time, let's not have your PR firm write it. Like it doesn't feel authentic yet. And his actions have been escalating. And anytime you see that, just like, oh, he got caught. What do you mean he got caught? I mean, he literally, like,
it was his IG live.
Went out on Instagram live.
It was selfie style. Like no one caught him. Like he did it.
Yeah. And not only that, like I made the argument too, like it just seemed like, where did he get the gun? And I know, like, everyone's, oh, he's not getting charged. He's not getting charged. Wait. There's nothing that says he's not getting charged. The only thing is that he's not getting charged for waving a gun in a nightclub in Colorado. He traveled with a gun, it appears. Like, where did the gun come from? Whose gun is it? Was it on the team plane? Like, all of these things are going to come into a much larger discussion with the league. The league is not just going to go, oh, well, the police said he's not getting charged because they couldn't prove that A, he was intoxicated, which is part of the law, and B, no one else would step up and actually like talk about it. They couldn't get anyone to act as a witness. And so those are things that you expect, but the team is going to get grilled for this. Every single one of them, every single one of the employees, and whether it's a staffer or whoever it is, somebody's going to come up with where they got this gun and how it got there. If it was someone at the nightclub, that's one thing. But if he traveled with that gun on a team plane, then, like, I don't know, maybe we are talking 50 games. Maybe we are talking something crazy.
Yeah, and I talked about it a little bit with Damian. I watched that game last night, and just a small part of me, because I wanted the Kings to get whatever success they could. But I felt bad for those guys on the Memphis Grizzlies, man, because Ja let those guys down, man. They're out there battling. They're trying to do what they can to get their season back on the right track. And in the middle of this, his selfishness and arrogance seems like something Steven Adams tried to like stop before it happened. He let them down, man, and they were out there fighting, but they're not at full strength, and there's a bunch of chaos around them. And I kind of felt bad for those guys last night.
That's, it's the chaos that he's brought. Whether he's there or not, that team, what did they go, like 20-1 last year without him? They've proven they can win without him. It's the chaos. And I've always said that, like, when I talk about like preseason win projections for the Sacramento Kings, I used to ask for like a +8, and people are like, you can't have a +8. And I'm like, it's very specific. If they can avoid the drama, I think they, like in previous years with Cousins on the team, it was like, I think they can win 45. If they can't avoid the drama, I think they'll win 29. So my win total is 37. And people would be like, well, that's 37 plus or minus 8. And it's like, well, that's not fair. It's like, okay, well, that's just how I see it. Like,
just wait till Drake walks in the locker room, buddy. Just wait till Drake walks in the locker room. That'll give you a clear indication if we're plus or minus 8.
Exactly. And, it's very simple, like a basketball culture. We hear about it all the time. It's culture, it's chemistry. Those things are so delicate. And if you can't like figure out a way to like be a team and cheer for each other and find success together, then you will find destruction and loss together. That's what you find. And like I watched it happen so many times here in Sacramento that's the brilliance of Mike Brown and his staff and this team is the all-in mentality. And we've had some wavering here and there by one or two players where you could start to go, okay, are they all in? And then you could see them fix it. And they just kept going. And at this point, it takes, like you asked Keegan Murray about, De'Aaron well about, like, I asked him one game, he had 16 at the end of the third, and then he never took another shot. And I'm like, do you have to have a conversation with your teammates about, like, look for me? He goes, no, I don't. Like, the fourth quarter is De'Aaron Fox's time. Like, I've got the best scorer in the league in the fourth quarter. It's not my time, it's his time. Like, that's the way it goes. If there's an open shot and someone passes it to me, I got to hit that shot in that moment. But outside of that, I'm not messing with that. That's De'Aaron Fox's time, and I'm good with that. And it's like, okay, that's a rookie who understands that. But I think the rest of the team understands that as well, that in order for Fox to be who he is in the fourth quarter, that takes a lot of buy-in. That's a bunch of dudes who are going out there and sacrificing their bodies for picks, for, to screen to get that guy open. It's a bunch of people going out getting rebounds. They're playing defense and they're getting no payoff on the offensive end where they're not getting any of the fanfare. That's when you know that you have a team that's 100% bought in. And that's good. That's good.
All right. Well, let's transition a little. Oh, let's not. One more. The Pelicans. I want to bring in the Pelicans too, because we were kind of going down this road for just a brief minute. Zion Williamson, at the same time we learned Ja's out for the next 4 games. We learned Zion's out for, at minimum, another 2 weeks. I mean, New Orleans did not look good the other night against Sacramento. What do you do at this point? Like a deeper discussion. Like, is it just not going to happen with this kid?
Probably not. I mean, his injuries are like 4 to 36 weeks. Like, how are you, as a team, how are you supposed to, like, figure out how you're going to set up your season when every injury he has starts out at 2 to 4 and then 4 to 8, and then we'll revisit it after the All-Star break. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is when that happens. Like, it could be November 1st. We'll revisit it after the All-Star break. And it's, like, that's why I told you guys, like, that guy had no business being on the All-Star team at all. Like, big deal. You can put up big numbers for 25 games, So did Jeremy Lin. He's not an All-Star. Like, I know Zion has special talent and all that stuff, but, like, there's a reason why they put in his weight clause where his weight and body fat combined have to be less than 295 for him to, or he loses tens of millions of dollars. Like, look, this guy, I don't know that he can stay healthy at all. I mean, has he reached Greg Oden status? Maybe not. But, like, we're not that far away. And just because he goes out there and puts up big numbers when he does play, that's not how a team wins. A team needs to play, especially with a piece like that, who has such an impact on especially on the offensive end. But, you still have to figure out how to play defense with him too. I'll go back to Marvin Bagley, and I'm not going to compare them talent-wise because Zion has clearly proven that he's better as a player than Marvin Bagley without any question. But it wasn't just that Marvin Bagley missed games when he was with the Kings. It was that he would start and stop and start and stop, and he never had any continuity. The longest he ever played, I think, straight was 24 straight games. Like, he never had the ability to develop as a player at all. And so, sure, he can go out and put up points and he can grab rebounds, but he doesn't know where a rotation is at all. He doesn't know where he's supposed to be on the defensive end. He can't improve greatly as a player at all. His basketball IQ is the same as it was when he came in the league. All of these things fit the same as Zion. He has not had the opportunity to grow and be an NBA player long enough for any stretch of time where you can start to, like, depend on him at all. It's tough if you're a franchise. You have to just keep waiting.
Yeah, and he's a guy that you would just take a chance on if you're New Orleans. Like, you got to take a chance on him. He is so unstoppable when he's right that you just got to kind of ride that situation as long as you can. That's why I have no problem with them signing him to a contract. I have no problem with them, seeing what he's got, because he's so good when he is there. He's a game changer. He had them at the number 1 seed, and he was playing at an unbelievable level when he plays, you got to just kind of hope that, it clicks for him. The stars align for his body at some point where he can stay healthy for a whole season, but you got to take the chance on him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're New Orleans, you're kind of stuck. I think that's the what is it, the sunk cost theory, that some people just, that's why getting rid of Marvin Bagley, it didn't matter what you got. It was a sunk cost. You got to move on. I think the Kings, more than, well, as much as any franchise, they usually do a good job of that. Like, I can go back and remember, like, J.J. Hickson. Like, the Kings traded a first-round pick and Omri Caspi for him. He didn't make it to the All-Star break. They jettisoned him and let him go somewhere else. Thomas Robinson, he was so bad they traded him before the All-Star break his rookie season. Nick Stauskas, like, the Kings don't usually stick and just keep, like, letting someone drag them down if they're not going to be a ball player. And that's a good thing. I mean, it's, even we can go back to Harry Giles, who everybody loves, but Harry Giles he's not an NBA player anymore. And, he's off. I don't know what Harry's doing, but, it plays into the same thing. Like, there was a moment where they could either offer him the $3 million for next year as just as part of his rookie contract, or they could say, hey, it's not working out. And I think everyone freaked out at the time, but now they really realize that it was the right thing. But when it comes to Zion, man, you're going to have to keep paying him. Just like you can go back. Portland gave Greg Oden another contract. It wasn't just his rookie scale. He got an additional couple of years. You look at Joel Embiid, like, he didn't play for the first 3 years he was in the league pretty much. So, I mean, maybe there is a point where Zion comes around and that's what happens. He kind of goes the Embiid path, but, foot injuries with big men are just tragic.
Now we can transition to the Kings, specifically the Kings beat, specifically your partner on the Kings beat. And maybe you can explain to us why Sean Cunningham chose violence on a recent edition of the
He
Kings.
did.
Whose man's is this?
Like, why is Sean so hurt? And for those who have not caught up on the Kings Beat podcast, a spoiler alert: Sean Cunningham said Mike Brown would not be his coach of the year.
He said flat out, I wouldn't vote for him.
Man,
I
Damn.
think that was a strange thing. Like, he doesn't have a vote, but why are you saying that you don't have a? Okay, I wouldn't vote for. And I'm looking at him like, are you like what? Like, he starts bringing up, well, the 16 years doesn't really matter when it comes to the coach of the year. The hell it doesn't. Yeah, like last year.
That's Brian Daboll is polishing his trophy in New York. I'm guessing recent failures have something to do with how the coach of the year decided.
Third in the division. We're talking about a team that's a 2 seed.
Yeah, I'm really confused. Like, again, I think I said it on the pod. Joe Mazzulla, but he didn't wreck the Porsche or he didn't wreck the Ferrari. That's all he's done.
But that's important. I don't want to diminish that because I think that's important too.
No, he did a good job, but
I don't think it's that easy. I don't think it's that easy to just go, oh, he's got the talent. Remember, like, this Ime Udoka stuff situation, it was days before training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like it happened, at the end of the NBA Finals. Like, it happened right before they went to camp.
I will say this, though. It is easier than what Mike Brown has had to do.
Yeah, I mean, he took a team that went to the finals.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's easier.
I think that can be look, Mike Brown's my coach of the year. I'm not Sean Cunningham here. Mike Brown's my coach of the year. I don't want that. He is the coach of the year. I feel like the Joe Mazzulla conversation, it gets a little – I think what Joe had to do was extremely difficult.
Yeah, I'm not going to say
– what he put in was really, really difficult.
Yeah, he brings something to the table. I'm not saying that he's just like that thing's on auto, but let's not forget that Luke Walton went 39-2 or 39-1 or 39-3 with the Golden State Warriors when he had to step in when Steve Kerr had his back injury. I mean, like, taking over not only a really good team, but a young, completely intact, full, really good team. I just don't think it's really all that difficult. Now, can he do it for 5 years or something? That's something. Well, we're talking about a coach who who took over a team that not only hasn't made the playoffs in 16 years, but who was in complete shambles last season, who fired a head coach 17 games into the season. They didn't respond to Alvin Gentry. And, like, that's not a knock on Alvin. Yeah, guy, fans puking, like the building emptying out. Like, look at what he's been able to create, a culture of winning. It doesn't matter what they do in the playoffs, in my opinion, like whether they're a one and done or, and this group, they don't believe they're one and done. They're not just, oh, we're so happy to be there. No, they're ready. They are going to do the same thing they've done all season, take it game by game, and they intend to inflict some damage in the playoffs. And good for them. Like, I hope that they do. I think it would be fun to watch this team keep going.
And here's the other thing about that. And I think Sean is, Sean's my guy. That's my man.
He's my guy too.
Sean on the show.
You probably should. He can come in defense.
The part of the reason I don't have, like, Sean is like the busiest dude in local media, so sometimes I don't want to bother him.
But Sean, much like a lot of, I'm not gonna say everybody, I'm just gonna say a lot of other people, like they've been doubting this man at every turn. Mike Brown and what he's as a coach been able to do. Sean, I think on this episode, this latest episode of the Kings Beat, literally just believed in the Kings just now. Every turn it was, oh, we'll wait and see. I'm not buying it. We'll wait and see. I'm not buying it. We'll wait and see.
No, that was me. Sean and Brennan both said, oh no, I think they're good. And it was in December. And I'm like, man, you guys are wild. You boys wild. I'm not going there. Well, not yet.
Well, James, you're going to have to tone for this. But the point being, it wasn't to get on Sean or Brennan or James. It was just the fact that James was not alone with everybody else who would say, it's good, but they don't play defense. We'll see what happens. Like
ESPN
the whole
power
way.
rankings.
And he's made it through the entire way. Yeah. And it can't be now, well, there's better coaches out there. Like, you guys didn't think he was going to get it done the whole time. Then he's gotten it done.
Yeah, I'll tell you too. I mentioned this on the pod. I was sitting courtside with Gary Gerald the other night, and we were just sitting there taking in the pregame, and I'm like, what are you thinking? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't either. And I said, I kind of feel bad that we don't know. And I feel like the reason we don't know whether they're going to win tonight or not, whether we have that feeling that they're going to win tonight or not, is because we've seen too much bad. Too many times where you thought it was easy and they walked in and, against a team without 5 starters, whatever it was. Like, there's been too many years. And he's like, I feel that, like, neither one of us, we can't give it up, like, and just, like, enjoy the ride 100%, because we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's because we've been trained to feel that way. Like, again, this is 13 years in, like 240 games in. That's what we got, right? I'm 240 games under 500. I've never seen a team break 39 wins. When they get to 40, that'll be the first time in my career I've seen 40 wins in a season. And that's not even 500. That's so I guess what I'm saying is, like, it's hard to even, like, to stay like objective and to have, like, some sort of idea of, like, perspective and stuff like that. But when it comes to Mike Brown, Sean even mentioned, like, purple colored lenses. I'm like, man, that's not what this is. Like, we can debate the De'Aaron Fox, whether he's an all NBA player or not. And maybe we can get some purple colored lenses there and say, look, I can see a pathway. We're talking about a coach who's turned around, like, the most defunct franchise in professional sports. It's not just the NBA. They have the worst stretch in the history of sports, like 16 consecutive playoff years without a playoff drought. It's horrible. And it's historically bad across all sports in the United States. So, yeah, I don't know. Mike Brown is my guy.
It's also like, sorry, Casey.
No,
look at what Mike has to deal with. Like, Mike has always been diminished as a head coach because he got to coach LeBron James for so long. He won 60 plus games multiple times, but it's looked down upon because he was coaching LeBron James. Coach Kobe Bryant and that Lakers team to, I think, a 47 win season. His first year there, gets fired before he even gets his feet underneath him in the second year. And so Mike has never been fully appreciated as a head coach. I don't know what those people could possibly say today. Like, what could you say about Mike Brown today after what he's done? Because everything you just laid out, James, has to do with Sacramento and the Sacramento Kings and what Mike has done. But what about what Mike has done for himself? Because Kobe ain't here. LeBron ain't here. He's got some very good ball players here for sure, but he doesn't have LeBron James. He doesn't have Kobe Bryant. So this may be an exorcism for Sacramento Kings fans. I'd argue this is an exorcism for Mike Brown's career as well. Like, I told y'all I could coach. Y'all gave me this coach of the year before. I've won 60-plus games, but y'all diminished me. And Mike, of course, would never say this, but y'all diminished what I did. Now look what I did here with this group in Sacramento. Look how we believe it. Look how everybody's in on this.
Dude, he had a 616 win percentage coming into the season, and all of us debated whether Mark Jackson or Darvin Ham or Steve Clifford, like, there should have never been a debate. He was the best coach for the job at the time. And we can talk about how, he had LeBron. Okay, he had LeBron, and who else? And well, he had LeBron. Okay, Mo Williams was his second best player. Like Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Anderson Varejao. Like, is there another Hall of Fame player on his team at all at any point? The answer is no. Like, he never played, like, with that first run with the Cavs. Like, you go back to like San Antonio, Tim Duncan helped make Hall of Famers out of Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. Were they great players? Sure. But Manu Ginobili walks away from the game averaging like 16 points a game. Like, that's not typically a Hall of Famer. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my book. All those rings and all that stuff. You look at some of these other players that, like, Klay Thompson, great player. But Draymond Green, great player. But are they surefire Hall of Famers stepping into the league without Steph Curry and the run that they go on? And the answer is probably not. If, again, you take Klay Thompson, you put him on the Sacramento Kings for the same era, and what is it that you think of him as a player? And it's probably not the same that you think of him now. And so, like, I think it should be pointed out that not only did Mike he had LeBron, but he also didn't really have anyone else. He didn't have a group of Hall of Famers with him. And I think he's done a tremendous job here, but you're right. He did a tremendous job before. This is validation for him. It's validation of how good of a head coach he is. I mean, I'll bring this point up. Luke Walton has the second highest win percentage in Sacramento Kings history. The Kings, outside of Rick Adelman, do not have a single 500 season in 37 years. So 29 years without a 500 season. Not one head coach has a 500 season in Sacramento history outside of Rick Adelman. It's just wild. And this guy walks in, takes a completely defunct team, doesn't look to rebuild the whole thing, doesn't ask for a bunch of things, and walks out there and wins a ton of games. And I think it's absolutely incredible what he's doing.
How's his former team look defensively?
Yeah.
I mean, tell the whole story. Maybe that's got to be a part of the conversation too.
Yeah. Number 2 to, I don't know, what are they, 20?
And he had it earlier. 24.
Well, I did points per game, so I know you guys do like above replacement, 40 minutes, 40. I don't know nothing about that.
Defensive rating.
You just drop a war?
A war.
Wins above. Is that a basketball stat too?
Yeah, wins above replacement. They're 15th in defensive rating, but still from 2 to 15.
Sorry, they don't play no defense. How they 15?
Like the whole league. I think that's the league.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we just want to make excuses for the Kings at this point. I mean,
Kings are in second. Kings don't need excuses.
They don't need that's the stat I'd be worried about.
Yeah, that's all that matters. I have another question I want to ask because you said something interesting there, and it just sparked something in my brain.
I had another Sean Cunningham question too.
Okay, so you know what? You better ask your Sean Cunningham question
right now.
No, No, just hold it in like James is me. Just hold that, James. Hold that, Sean.
I couldn't hold it in. Like,
See,
that,
couldn't hold it.
hold that question in. We'll come back. I've got a question. You said something that sparked like, I got an idea here. Let me ask.
thinking.
John Morant. We're talking all NBA. I got a question here. So we'll talk more Kings basketball when James Ham returns with us, assuming he decides to stay after all of this on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. So I want to mention this for James and for the people watching, because I think we can make this pretty smooth. At some point after we get back, you ask the Sean Cunningham question. Kenny's going to sneak out and go take care of something for us really quick, and then he'll make his way back in here. And he probably will make his way.
It's even more of a statement than a question. I mean, you guys can talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just
okay. All right.
It won't take long.
So when we get back, it'll probably be like 33, 34. Talk for a few minutes. Like they'll be into the presentation at that point. You can slide over there because that was the whole point. I wanted them in the presentation. No, David, he ain't pulling a Leezy. He ain't pulling a Ravishing Rick Rude. Showing up on both shows.
Alundra Blaze.
Oh, hit the like button, please. Hit the thumbs up while you're here. We need those likes. We need those subscribers. Man, they really turn out for James Ham and Trista Crick, boys. So if y'all could hit the thumbs up. Where we at? Oh, come on, man. We got to be above 300 before the end of the show. Do it for the Hornets.
Do it for the Hornets.
Do it for the Sac State Hornets.
7-8 minutes away, baby. Come on.
Let's
think they're up 11.
Let's get us. Yeah, it was getting a little closer.
Yeah, it was. I didn't like that.
It's getting a little closer.
I didn't like that. There was a big play at the end of the third quarter where if they could have converted, I would have been like, oh no.
Yeah. Let's get above 300 before the show ends. We just need 45 more. There's damn near 500 people in here. So hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe buttons. Pretty please. And we're going to have some fun tomorrow. Tomorrow going to be something.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have some fun tomorrow. You coming in tomorrow, James?
What is tomorrow? Thursday?
Well, it's Thursday,
right.
but.
That's right, James. I was like,
we'll see.
Like, Cody. I was like, why did James?
We'll see. I could ask this question right here. The baby daddy asked questions.
The baby daddy.
The baby daddy is saying that I'm undermining the Kings. I don't know what that means. They're a professional franchise. I'm not a fan. I'm a reporter who has to be hard on them when they do good things. And
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah.
And I must be behind. Oh, I am. I was like, I must be behind on the Locked On.
Oh,
I was like, I thought I was caught up. I'm not.
Yeah, Jerry Reynolds was on today, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was. Oh, man, damn it! As soon as we get back, I got to hit some air horns.
I want my people to be free. Pac-12 tournament starts today.
This Photoshop of trying to figure out if James is sneezing is very funny. Damian trying to figure out who sneezed like he's Jim Garrison on JFK. Well, I do want to point out Jim Garrison is a real person. It's not just a character on JFK. He's a real person. But this is funny.
I want my people to be free, to be free, to be free.
Oh, look at Keegan. Stone-faced. Stone cold Keegan Murray.
Barstool Kings.
Oh yeah, he won't even bite on anything. He did have a good statement though, didn't he? He said that like it's just we'll get more national TV games when we're playing in the playoffs. Like, oh, okay. Sick burn, Keegan. Unintentional sick burn.
I think Savannah's one of the dopest women in existence. She's funny.
Savannah James?
Yeah. She does stuff that makes me laugh.
Big fan of the Jameses. Count it. Sassy Keegan.
Man.
Sassy Keegan.
Let's go, Hornets. Man,
There
she
we
kept
go.
that foot still. Good for her.
Uh-oh. Maybe a young Kobe at a pause moment.
Uh-oh. That happens. Welcome back, young Kobe. Welcome back, young Kobe. Oh. Okay. Come back. Hey, real quick, I've been meaning to do this all day, and this is massive. Me. Let me go ahead and let these fly. Man, the happiest of birthdays to Jill Adge.
Oh, yeah, man.
Jill Adge celebrating.
Yeah, happy birthday.
So happy birthday to the big homie Jill. Love her to death. And you got to do it on Twitter, and you got to text, and you got to do it on the radio. Probably got to call her, got to FaceTime her, got to Facebook it, got to IG it, got to find a picture of us together to post.
No, Grove gets really upset if I don't.
You literally have to do it. You have to wish someone happy birthday, like everywhere. Yeah, so I already texted her. I already put it on Twitter. I'm gonna make sure we do it here on the show, man, because Jill deserves her flowers, man. She is not only a tremendous Kings fan, she is extremely knowledgeable and is a great podcast host. I loved working with her and absolutely love talking to her. So, Jill, happy birthday to you.
Big ups, Jill. Big ups.
Your Sean Cunningham question?
Yeah, just real quick question, statement. You mentioned what Sean said on the podcast about, he said something about, I'm not going to come in here with purple colored lenses talking about Mike Brown and all this other stuff. And I just don't understand why, when speaking about the Kings in a positive light and what they could do and what they deserve, you have to be a homer. Why can't you just be right? Why can't you just be right? Like, I deal with this with like the 49ers a lot. Like, I say things about the Niners early in the season, and Casey, 3-5, you're such a homer. It's like, no, actually, I have a pulse on the team that I follow every single day. I know what they're capable of. I'm not guaranteeing that's what's going to happen, but I know what they're capable of. I know what it probably takes to beat them. I know what they can't do, all this other stuff. Same thing with the Kings. I've been telling y'all forever the Kings are going to the playoffs. They're a top 6 team. They're a playoff team. It's not because I'm a homer. It's because I looked at this team. Sometimes if you're a fan of the team, you can look at it objectively and say, no, they're really good at this. Other teams can't stop this. And the thing that you guys are worried about it's not really going to come into play. But if you say it, you got purple colored lenses on instead of just being right. And I'll say this. I've been right about the Kings since like January, since December. They're going to run teams out the building. They can't stop them offensively. Nobody will. I don't care if there's 50 games left, 25 games left, 7 games left. You ain't stopping them on offense. Sometimes you're just right. That's all I want to say.
Like when we're debating things, like I try not to have, like, I'm objective, and I mean that's the game, right? So like we were talking about the situation with like Fox. Could Fox make could he make All NBA? And I think Sean's point, like when we were getting when Fox got snubbed from the All-Star team, Sean had such a good point. Like, he's not even in the top 20 in assists. He's not in the top 20 in scoring per game. Mm-hmm. And like, so everyone wants to say, oh, he's the biggest snub, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, is he really? Because just because a team is winning when they haven't won before, we don't just give it to somebody because their team is winning when they haven't before, especially when you already know they're getting an all-star. They already have an all-star. And I think from that point, when Fox got snubbed until where we are today, Fox has proven that he's even more than an all-star, that he's better than just an everyday average all-star player, that he's actually taken a tremendous step in his development. And then if you start looking at where his stats are now and you compare him to everyone else, and now he's like number 15 in assists. He's also number 13 in the NBA, I think, in scoring, right around there. And you can start looking at it, and you can make an objective argument for him to be third team All NBA. Because after you get past Luka and maybe Donovan Mitchell, like there's a bunch of guys that they might score more than Fox, like Shea or Damian Lillard, but their teams aren't nearly as successful. What they're doing isn't impacting winning as much as Fox is. And so like we could start making like we could have a debate, but again, I'm not saying that Fox is third team All NBA. I'm saying it's possible. It's not impossible. If you look at the stats, you look at the record, you look at how this team has responded, what he does in the fourth quarter, the fact that he will most likely win the first clutch award in the NBA. All of those things.
Interesting to follow.
Yeah.
That'll be real, because like I don't, awards, as we have learned and discussed, don't appear to have a criteria to them. If this award actually has a criteria to it, it feels like it's De'Aaron Fox's award. The other individual that might be in the conversation is an individual I don't think they're going to give a postseason award to, and that's Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, less in I don't want to minimize it, less in clutch time. His numbers, like you see his fourth quarter numbers in general, are bananas.
Yeah.
But if we're talking clutch time, man, this feels like it's De'Aaron Fox's award. But what sparked me thinking about all pro De'Aaron Fox when you brought that up a second ago was kind of what we were just talking about with Ja Morant. And I guess it can sort of similarly be tied with Kyrie, in that you wonder if they're going to be excluded from postseason honors for a variety of reasons. Whether that's fair or not is not what I'm discussing. But if they are, that really, or even if one of them is, that really opens the door for even more so, opens the door wider. A door that's already open, it opens the door wider for De'Aaron Fox.
And that was my point too, like when we were discussing on the pod, because if you look at Kyrie, you look at Ja, you look at the injury problems that Steph Curry has had and how many games he's missed. Devin Booker's going to start coming into the conversation for sure. But there's only so many spots. Like in All NBA, there's only 6 guards that are taken, and we can quickly name 6 that are deserving, or 6 that have a really good shot to be there, including Luka. But then, like, if it's between De'Aaron Fox and Trae Young for an All NBA selection, De'Aaron Fox is getting it in, is getting the award. That's just, his team has won more. They've been better. And so those are things where I was intrigued by it, because the top 13 scorers of that group, there's probably 7 guards, but how many of those guards are more deserving than Fox? Just whether it's team success or, efficiency, or name that stat you want to look at.
You pretty confident that he feels good after sitting against the Pelicans?
Yeah, he said that like the hamstring's 100%. And we'll also point out it was a sore hamstring. Like they did not have some, like we didn't hear of a strain or a slight pull or a slight tear or anything like that. So yeah, I think the hamstring is good. He made mention of the wrist himself and said the hamstring is way better than the wrist. And so I think the wrist is probably going to take, if it does heal up during the season, it's going to take a while.
This is a fascinating game tomorrow night, because Tom Thibodeau, the Knicks, known for what they can do defensively. They haven't exactly done it this year, though. Not the way that they did, certainly not the way that they did 2 years ago when they made that initial playoff run after a long absence. And we've seen them, not only have we seen them put up points this season, we've seen them put up points against Sacramento this season. And I'm so fascinated as to what tomorrow night's matchup might look like. Obviously, New York got their bubble burst a little bit by dropping one against the Charlotte Hornets after winning 9 straight. One I certainly didn't predict coming. But I think it's a really interesting matchup, especially when you go back and you look at the way that the first game against these two went.
Yeah, I mean, like this is one of those teams that you look at, and there's a couple of them now out there that we can point to, but it's one of those teams that really is a difficult matchup. Like they've got difficult one-on-one players to match up against, and the Kings don't particularly play defense well. Even like a zone defense can work against some of this stuff, but like think back last year to Dallas and how many times you remember that the Kings just getting absolutely buried by, why am I drawing a blank on their point?
See, James, I guarantee you, I know what happened right there. James was going to pull up a tab to pull up. I don't know if he was talking about. He's back. Jalen Brunson, or was it
Jalen
Jalen
Brunson.
There you go.
Yeah, my bad. I hit the back button.
That's all right.
I was on a different tab. Yeah, like Jalen Brunson just killed the Kings last year. Like he has a physicality to him. He attacks the lane in a different way, and the Kings struggle with him. It seems like every single time they played him. And so they have a collection of players that I think the Kings are going to struggle with. But I also know that there's no way to stop Julius Randle. Like just like they have no way to stop Fox. And they have a couple of players like that. I really, really like Emmanuel Quickly. I think he's a stud. And he's going to be tough. So if Jalen Brunson can't go, which I don't think we know if he was questionable, and he missed last game, but if he can't go, Emmanuel Quickly is really good. And again, he's a tough matchup for Fox. He's a tough matchup for anyone that the Kings throw at him. He's just big and strong, and he's really good in the mid-range and physical. That's, again, the Kings have struggled historically with physical teams. They've struggled this season with physical teams. But like this is a different squad. Like this is something, like this Kings team is something that we haven't seen before. The fact that they haven't lost 3 in a row since November, so like every time you think that you want to put a question mark on them, they seem to come up and do something big. And I think we look at these 3 games, and I said if they can get through these 3 games, 48 wins at a minimum, but more, I think they still have a shot at 50. Even if they could win, what is their schedule? The schedule is
we really looked at their next 10. These aren't in order, but the next 10 game stretch is the Knicks. They have the Suns twice. They have the Bucks, the Celtics, and then they have the Brooklyn Nets. That's 6 of the 10. Then you have Washington, a couple against Utah and Chicago.
Yeah, you got some winnable games in there. So
there's some different tiers of teams right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you can go 5-5 over that stretch, I think you did all right. And if you can go a little bit better than that, then it just shows who you are. Like if you can get to 6-4, and I think some of the other sneaky things that have happened here over the last couple of days, like number one, the Warriors lost 2 games, and that was tremendous for the Kings because that puts them 6 games back in the loss column, and they're down to like 16 games or 15 games. There's like so little chance of them, like
time is running out.
Yeah, they almost have to win out. I mean, again, the Kings go 12-6, and the Warriors have to go undefeated.
Yeah, it was like Kenny had the number earlier. It was something absurd, like 14-2 or something incredibly unrealistic for this version of that team.
Yeah, they go 14-2. The Kings could go 10-8, and they would tie, but then it would come down to the tiebreaker. And as of right now, they have a 2-1 tiebreaker on the Kings, but they played second to the last game of the season. So yeah, I that was big, but it pushed them back into a grouping of teams. And so I think there's 2 teams that are 6 games back, and then there's like 4 or 5 that are 7 games back, 7 and 8 games back of the Kings. There's no way for those guys to make up. I think what this last couple of days have done is it cemented the Kings in the top 4, which I didn't know that would happen. Like I thought we would be in a dogfight all the way down to the end, like where these guys were battling. Sorry to use that term. I know you hate it, but like they would go, they would be battling all the way down to the final couple of games of the season to secure a top 4 spot. I think it got a lot easier over the last few days.
I feel like it really comes down to what happens with these 2 games against Phoenix. If you can split the 2 against Phoenix, or I mean, it seems unfathomable to win both of them. But if you split these 2 games with Phoenix or better, man, you're in a great spot for 2, 3. Because I'm of the belief now they're playing for 2, 3, and 4. Like that's kind of where they are.
Yeah.
And part of the reason you incorporate 4 is because of Phoenix's 4th. And unlike Memphis, the Kings have 2 games against Phoenix. So Phoenix really has it's not just Kings take care of business. Well, Phoenix is looking at like, we take care of business. That includes beating the Sacramento Kings. We're right up there. We're creeping up to that 2nd spot now at this point.
Yeah, see, there are 3 games back in the loss column. You can make up 3 games in 18 with no problem. That's not a big deal.
Well, especially
when you play.
That's it.
Yeah. So I totally agree. And then like Memphis, like I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't know if they can right themselves and figure it out. But the problem that Memphis has is they're not very good in the conference. So the Kings, they've split with the Kings on the season series. That's the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. The second tiebreaker is divisional. So if you have the same record, they go and you're in the same division, they look at your division record. Since they don't play with the same division as the Kings, then we go to the third tiebreaker, which is conference. And the Kings are 5.5 games up on Memphis in the conference record. And like I haven't looked at the Kings Suns season series, and I haven't looked at all that stuff, but that's just kind of what you have to look at. So the Kings and Suns will go. It's 0-2 Suns.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very possible it is. So if if they win the season series, I can look at. I actually have it here without like dumping myself out of here. Yeah, Phoenix, they are 0-2. So if the Kings can win the next 2, that's one thing. But then it's going to come down to division record because they both play in the same division. So if they end up with the same exact record, the Suns are 9-1 in division, and the Kings are 7-6. So clearly the Suns have a lot more divisional games remaining outside of even the 2 against the Kings. They still have a bunch more divisional games.
Well, and the good thing, like the division is fighting, like Golden State is fighting, the Clippers are fighting, like the Lakers are fighting. Like those are all games that those teams are going to want. They're going to want those games.
Yeah.
In some cases, they're going to need those games.
Yeah, and I mean the Kings are done with the Clippers. They're done with the Lakers on the season, and who's the other team in their division?
Warriors.
Warriors. They got one left against the Warriors, and Kings hold it. Warriors hold a 2-1 advantage in that battle. So
and that's the second to last game of the season. It's the final home game of the season. The Warriors game is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so lots of interesting scenarios. We saw Oklahoma City beat the Golden State Warriors last night. They host the Phoenix Suns tonight. Like Phoenix just feels unstoppable. Like they're so good with Kevin Durant in the lineup, and it just fits so seamlessly. And that's a team like I'm really so much talk about what that team could be offensively. My concern of them is what they can be defensively and how adding that long frame of Kevin Durant, because for some reason it's put in the back seat that Kevin Durant was at one time one of the best two-way players in the league, that he was just a menace on defense because of his length and his ability to get from one spot to the other so quickly. I'm curious to see how that kind of, because we talked about the subtraction of defense or defensive players with Monty Williams' Phoenix Suns team. Well, you did, but you added Kevin Durant, who incredible offensively, one of the greatest we've ever seen, very good defensively as well.
Well, yeah, and people forget, we talked about this like before the season. Really good offense typically leads to really good defense.
Mm-hmm.
If you're good offensively and Kevin Durant is like above and beyond spectacular offensively, then you have time to set up your defense every time. So it at least slows things down a little bit. That hasn't exactly worked out for the Kings this year because they're still bad defensively. But you would expect that they should have been better than they are. And they've just got a lot of shootouts, and they're not a good offensive rebounding team. And like there are some other issues. So, but either way, I think that they'll have a shot.
Let's let these air horns fly for a second, because the Sac State Hornets women's basketball team just won the Big Sky Championship. Congratulations to KD and our good buddy Coach Mark Campbell. Sac State's going to the NCAA tournament, man. Congratulations to these incredibly talented young women. We have been following them all season long. An incredible 25-7 season. What a great run for Coach Mark Campbell, and what a great nod for Mark Orr, for Sac State. What a great nod for the Sacramento community, for the Sac State Hornets women's basketball team to go to the NCAA tournament. I mean, this is just awesome to see. Big Sky Conference champions. So congratulations to them, man. That is absolutely awesome. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, James. I think tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. I didn't go to Sac State. I'm a Davis guy, but I'll tell you what Sac State's been able to do this year in sports, just absolutely spectacular. It feels like, don't you feel like between the Republic and the Kings and Sac State football and now Sac State girls basketball, that they are just really taking, like, Sacramento has become a sports city, at least for this year. It's really fun to see.
Yeah, it's awesome. And, Coach Patrick's doing a great job, and he is just starting the turnaround with that men's program. He had a terrific year, and you can see the light at the end of that tunnel with that program. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head, man. It's been a lot of fun. It's obviously fun for us. It's fun locally. It's fun for sports fans, and I'd argue the Sacramento Kings playing the way that they are just makes it that much better. Like the fact that, Sac State, Troy Taylor, Sac Republic. Yeah, but our NBA team is a joke. No, your NBA team is the second seed in the Western Conference right now. Your NBA team is very likely to clinch a playoff spot here relatively soon. And it feels like they're going to finish not just 6, but potentially 2, 3, or 4. And that's the cherry on top of all of this.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's amazing to watch. I did not know if I would stick around long enough to see them win. I'm surprised that they have, because you can only do this so long. And I've had a good run of really bad basketball, and I would love to see 5 years, 8 years of really, really good basketball. That would be fun.
Indeed. And I think you're going to get it. And I think we're going to get a chance to see it showcased tomorrow night on national television for the second time this season. You want more Kings content? Head over to thekingsbeat.com, become a premium subscriber.